everything. Intelligence, expertise. Hey, how much am I willing to give up? Stand commitment and are not committed to the struggle. Acquiescing to the struggle, they're committed. Good morning, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. It's roughly about 6 a.m. where I'm at. I've been up since 4 this morning, doing what I do. And something's been on my mind for a couple of days, and I've been busy dealing with so many other things that are going on that I haven't had time to address it. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk about it because I think that it is important to properly contextualize and frame this type of behavior, because it's more than an anomaly. It happens a little bit too often in certain particular situations and circumstances, and I just want to touch it briefly. I've addressed it in my writing. I've addressed it in previous videos. Unfortunately, we're still battling to get the original channel back up and running, but we're going to keep moving. Before I get into it, I want to thank everybody that has been inquiring about my recovery. I'm almost 100%. So much further along than I was when this first went down, but improving health wise overall and in general, staying focused on the things I need to stay focused on to make sure that this doesn't happen again, but recovering from some of the consequences of that health scare. And I'm doing fine, back to work. I'm excited, picked up a couple of new kids. That I'm excited about working with Black Men Lead. These are going to be kids that I'll actually be working with directly, personally. So, I get to do that every now and then, where I'm literally having them next to me. And, everybody gets to work with the men in the organization, and there are a bunch of different things that we do. But this is going to be exciting for me for a number of different reasons that I won't get into. But I'm looking forward to that. For those of you that have been inquiring about my health, I want to thank you. I'm doing great. Now, also, I want to thank everyone who has been supportive in the work that we do, financially, emotionally. Those are just encouraging us. We appreciate it, and we need it. Those who have given, we definitely appreciate that, and we need the support financially, because we're going to push on. We're going to keep taking on kids, girls and boys. Ghettos Forgotten Daughters, Black Men Lead. We're going to keep taking those on. We're going to keep doing the other programs that we're doing in the inner city, and we're going to be as much of an impact as we possibly can. If you want to learn about some of the work we're doing, go over to the site at the Odyssey Project 21.top and just check out what's going on over there. There are also a lot of resources. If you're in need of help and support in the areas that we offer, reach out to us. We love to work with you. So with that being said, I want to talk to you about this clown, Patrick Patterson. And he's not the first one to do it. Trick, I went, my response to what Trick Daddy said 3 years ago is what literally set off my move from being pretty much obscure on social media, as far as the Black community is concerned, and pushed me into the spotlight. That was at the time the most viral video I had done. I think on Facebook it did something like 40,000 views, and I don't know how many it did on YouTube, but it definitely pushed me out there as somebody who was serious about what was going on in the Black community. Up until that time, it was my books. Nobody really knew who I was, or he probably knew how I looked in the Black community. I was still doing work in other areas, and had been doing it in the Black community, but was on a small scale, relatively speaking. And so this is how long this has been going on. So it's not new. But Patrick Patterson, who is an NBA player, I believe he plays for the Clippers now, uh, married to a white woman. Um, and while I uh, allow people to make their choices about who they marry, I am with my sisters and completely committed. And regardless of how you feel about Umar Johnson, one of the things that he quoted that just sticks with me is when he stood up and said that the greatest commitment that a black man can make to black progress is being committed to a black woman. And I believe that with every ounce of my being. And that's where I stand on it. I don't spend a lot of time ridiculing or attacking people for their choices. You make those choices. Where I have a problem is when you make those choices and then feel the need to degrade black women to justify the choice. I'm like this. And I said this a long time ago when my friends used to tease me. Like, okay, you gonna get up there to college and you're gonna fool around and get you one of those white girls, or you're gonna fool around and you now that you making it, you're gonna want your white and my thing was and my response was always, I'm good. No matter what happens, I'm gonna get me a sister. If at any time, for whatever reason, I did end up with a white woman, nobody would have to ask why. They would be able to know based off of who she was, what was going on, all that stuff, why I did it. And I never met that woman, so it never happened. I never met that woman that was just so white woman that was just so that it just made sense to get with her because anything that they had, I could get in a black woman and still be in my place, in my zone, in my space with someone who can relate to me, with someone I can look at and relate to. And so that never happened. So, but if a person is going to make that choice, that's their choice. But you should be able to make a choice that the person you're with doesn't have to be justified. If you got to attack other people to justify the person you're with, there's a problem. There's a problem with that person. There's a problem with you because you chose them. And so that's my thing, these black men. And then the thing is, I get more attacks from black men because I speak up for black women than any other thing. It blows my freaking mind that that's where we're at, that we can't own who we are and take on accountability and responsibility for being what we need to be, to the point that it's just easier to blame women for everything that's going wrong. But we want to be kings, we want to be heads, we want to be leaders. Well, see, kings, heads, and leaders have to take responsibility for those that they are in dominion and in leadership over. And that means that if I'm running my company and someone comes to me and says, hey, I did this, I did this. I've had people come to me and say, you know what? I ordered this book, blah, 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 blah. I don't say, man, somebody in there screwed it up. I say, I apologize. I'll figure it out and I'll get it taken care of for you. That's not how we want it to happen, but things happen. Nobody's perfect. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm never going to dump it on anybody that works for me. I'm going to take responsibility because at the end of the day, it's my leadership and things just happen, but it's about learning how to take accountability. If you're a coach at any level, yes, the players are the ones on the court in the field, but if they're not performing consistently, not performing up to par, you're going to be held accountable and you're going to lose your job. You're going to be held accountable. That's just simply the way it is. You can't call yourself a leader and constantly be pointing the finger at who you're supposed to be leading, covering, protecting, providing for, and all these other things. Am I sitting up and giving women a pass? Absolutely not. But I also understand what black women have been through. I also understand, as Malcolm says, she's the most unprotected woman on the planet, the most uncovered woman on the planet, the most unprovided for woman on the planet, the most abandoned and lonely woman on the planet. So, whatever she's going through and however she's expressing it, I have to understand where it's coming from, and it's my responsibility to love her back to life. That's something that, if you talk to my wife, that's a very, very core element of what I teach the young boys. And I express to the young girls that it's the role of black men to become whole at a point to where we're not offended when a black woman speaks a certain way, that we're not We don't feel small when she snaps out or when something goes wrong. We understand where it's coming from. And instead of belittling her, instead of berating her, instead of degrading her, we have an idea that I'm going to love her back to life. And when I'm talking about that, I'm not just talking about my wife. My wife will tell you, yes, there's a bunch of things where she knows, man, the average guy probably would have bounced, but he just stays on this even plane with me. She talks about it more than, you know, I knew she did because, I started to find out some of the conversations she's having with the girls. This even plane. And the thing is, I'm looking at my responsibility, not her. I don't treat her how I feel. I treat her based on my obligation and my responsibility as a husband. But I'm not just talking about in romantic situations. I treat every black woman, no matter who she is, from the woman standing on the corner with the cup to the girls that are looking like they're on their way to go work at the strip club. I have an idea. Before my wife and I got married, I had an idea of what I wanted. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I needed in my life, and I knew what I was willing to accept and not accept. And that was that. But that didn't mean that I was going to degrade, disrespect, or mishandle anyone who didn't measure up to that standard. I was going to treat every woman as if that was them, because I understand the power of how you talk to someone, the power of how you speak to someone. My wife will tell you she's not allowed to open doors. She's not allowed to pick up anything heavier than her purse. And it's just simple. And she will get in trouble when she does because she's an independent person and wants to do that. But I'm teaching her that. And at the same time, my sons are watching me do it and my daughters are seeing me doing it. And now they expect it and they do it. It's simply the way things should be done. But when it comes to this clown, Patrick Patterson, there's so much there that needs to be undressed. And I'm not going to go through it all. I've written about it. It's in Born in a Captivity. If you want to look at it in depth and see it, you can read it in Born in Captivity. The link should be in the description box. Here's what happens. See, when you have an identity crisis, when you really and truly don't know who you are, when you have been conditioned and indoctrinated by a culture that is Eurocentric in its makeup, and everything is based on the Eurocentric idea of what is, you take on the notion of trying to measure up to the Eurocentric idea, and that culminates into self-hatred. See, I don't look Eurocentric. My build, my face, my complexion is not Eurocentric. My background is not Eurocentric, and there's not a lot I can do about it because it's genetic and it's a part of me, and it is what it is. But there are a couple of things that happens with men specifically in this self-hatred thing is they develop this disdain for black women, and it's because in their mind, white women are better because of the Eurocentric idea. Everything that white is right. So because I'm not white, I'm not right, and the black woman is not right. So the only thing I can do to change my reality, I can't change me, but I can choose a white woman. And if I choose a white woman, in my mind, I've won. And there are a bunch of things that go into this way of thinking. See, when I choose a white woman, I believe that I've elevated myself. I believe that in some way, but I've also created a situation where my progeny will likely be lighter than me. Now, that didn't work for Gilbert Arenas too well. He tried it, and he still ended up with kids who were undeniably black. And I absolutely love it. But, with Patrick Patterson, his idea was to get this person and then to degrade and malign and mishandle black women to justify it. The reason why, and for those who don't know what I'm talking about, he, in defending his marriage to a white woman, called black women bulldogs. And there's some context behind it and all that. But in essence, it was disrespectful and it was wrong and it was unnecessary. Again, when you've got somebody solid, when you've got somebody that measures up, when you've got somebody that's worthy of you, you don't have to tear anybody else down to justify being with them. I've said that from day one. I have no desire to be with a black woman. If something were to ever go wrong, God forbid, with what I have now with my beautiful wife, I will be in mourning until whenever I'm not in mourning and I've recovered. And my next move will be another beautiful black woman if I make that move at all. I don't know. I can't see that far. And that doesn't even sound right coming out of my mouth. But it definitely wouldn't be anything but a black woman if it was anything at all, because I would have our kids still to raise. And that would be my first uh, focal point, would be making sure our kids were okay. But here, here here's here's the thing. That's why it's so important to have organizations like Black Men Lead, because that's where we properly racially socialize black males. We socialize them into black manhood, black masculinity, black male responsibility, a understanding of what the role of a black man is, and the importance of a black man being present in the lives of the people in his periphery, especially women and children, and the importance of sustaining, protecting, and reserving that blackness. And I talk about that a lot, the reserving and sustaining of blackness, the appreciation of blackness. That's why I'm not one that's going to invite any white people to the cookout. I'm not going to easily extend or hand over my blackness to anybody white, no matter what they say that I like, no matter how they stand on a topic that I agree with. They cannot come to my cookout because they cannot relate to my experience, and my blackness is too precious to be passing around. In that same sense, I'm not willing to give my blackness to a white woman. I'm just not. And there is something about loving a black woman that I don't even want to try to experience with someone else, because it then dilutes the power of what I'm trying to create. I need someone who understands me, and I need someone I understand. I need someone who can relate to me. I need someone that I can look into and see the alter side of me. There's something peculiar about my blackness, and I don't want to share that with just anybody. But we've got to teach that to our young children. We've got to instill it in them, the importance and the power of blackness. We've got to give blackness its beauty back. We've got to give blackness its power back. We've got to give blackness its uniqueness back. We've got to get to an Afrocentric idea of what is, what's beautiful, what's powerful, what's professional, what I mean, all of these, what's classy, all of these things we do to try to be accepted in something that was never created for us in the first place, instead of thriving in our own space that we are uniquely gifted to operate in. But it comes from a sense of identity. And when you don't have that sense of identity, you measure yourself by the cultural paradigm. The cultural paradigm says white is right. The white man's ice is colder. Anything, the closer I can get to some whiteness, the more important I am. That's 100% false, but that's what a large majority think. And then when black men get a sense of position of power because of money, and they go out there, first of all, not realizing that this same white person wouldn't give you the time of the day if you weren't this person with this money, that they would probably be repulsed by your blackness if it wasn't for your bank account. And here you go. Another thing that bothers me, and this is personal, but another thing that bothers me is the idea that when you see, and this is just me again, and I may not even be accurate in my assessment, it just may be me not liking it. in over exaggerating, but I'm going to say it anyway. It seems to me that when outsiders, white men or non-black, other non-black men come in and take from the fold of our beautiful black women, they take the best of the best professionally, in every way possible. They take the cream of the crop. And when we go over there playing in their pond, we come back with the bottom dwellers. We come back with the just okays or less. We're not going in there and bringing back somebody that can bring some power to whatever it is we're trying to do. They come back completely dependent upon us. Again, this isn't about attacking anybody else. This is about loving us. And this is what I'm going to say finally. And, this is probably going to be the most controversial thing I've said in this entire video. And it is what it is. Black men, we've got to get to a point to where that becomes unacceptable. When someone comes out and speaks against our women, we need to respond, and respond decisively and emphatically to the defense. In other words, it's some brothers in the NBA need to tighten dude up. A little bump here, a little bump there. This whole season needs to be a reminder to him to keep his mouth clean when it comes to black women. And I mean, you're born from a black woman. You come from the literal womb of a black woman, and you have the audacity to put your mouth on a black woman that way. And for the black man that's got all of this vitriol for black women, and it's all black women's fault. Don't get me wrong, sisters, y'all got some work to do. Y'all got some work to do, and I've talked about it, and I'll continue to talk about it. But I really and truly believe that we're going to go the direction that black men lead us. Now, we're going to get our elevation from the spiritual prowess of our sisters, but we're going to get our movement and our direction from our men. And so we've got to do better than that. But for the men that feel the need to just come and go off and point the finger at women, and it's all women's fault, to me, that is the absence of masculinity. Because while a woman can emasculate in the sense of making things more difficult, she cannot stop you from being a man. She cannot stop you from taking your rightful role. She can make it hard. And that's a level of emasculation in and of itself, making it more difficult than it has to be instead of actually coming in and helping you. And there are women that do that. Oh, I know all the stuff that's going on. Trust me, I've gone through it. And at a certain level with one of my children from a previous relationship, I'm still going through it. But I refuse to settle in and be the victim. I refuse to settle in and point the finger. First and foremost, I chose this person to procreate with, even though I didn't procreate on purpose. Procreation comes when you do certain things, and you've got to be prepared for the consequences when you do that. And so I made that choice, and I have to live with it. And I will live with it, and I will thrive, and I will rise, and I will do what I need to do. And I thank God I have a beautiful and gorgeous woman who backs me 100% on it. That's another thing that's just beautiful about her. She's, I mean, just there. But again, I created an environment that allows her to love me the way she does. You know, I create a space for her that's safe. I put her first. I love her. And she'll tell you, my thing, love her back to life. And it's possible. I didn't say it was easy. I didn't say it would happen overnight. What I'm saying is, it's easy to point a finger, but it's more rewarding to sit up and say, I'm going to make it different. I'm going to make it better. I'm going to be a catalyst of change. That's what I'm challenging all of y'all to do. So I'm going to leave it on that. Didn't even expect to be this long, but I'm okay. 7 o'clock here now, I think, something like that. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get off of here and get ready for the day. I'm pretty sure I'll be back before you because there's a lot of other stuff to talk about. It looks like they found the remains of Anaya Blanchard. Unfortunately, and I'm pretty sure after a certain point, everyone was expecting the worst, just based on how things had gone down, the amount of blood that was found in her vehicle. but they found her remains yesterday. So that's a sad note. And so many things could have caused that to go different. But we've got to talk about all of these things, that these self-inflicted wounds that we are uh, causing in our community, and how we need to handle those moving forward. And so I'm going to be back a little later on that. But again, thank you guys. Don't forget to support the work we're doing at the Odyssey Project. The link to go to the site and give from the site is in the description box. You can also give through Cash App. Once again, thank you guys. You have an unbelievable day, and I'm going to get back to work.
From a conceptual perspective, things people talk about a desire to be successful. All of the elements they think, intelligence, expertise. Hey, how much am I willing to give up? Stand commitment and are not committed to the struggle. Acquiescing to the struggle, they're committed